I'd like to ask the Minister, and I believe you have touched on it in some of your answers to previous speakers, but I'd like to ask the Minister about the steps he is taking to ensure Ireland delivers on its 5 gigawatt target for offshore wind, and if we should be even more ambitious to support Europe in weaning itself off fossil fuels.
Thank you very much indeed. We are being ambitious, and we have to achieve that what was set out in the programme for government, at least 5 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030. And that the programme for government commits to develop a longer-term plan to harness the estimated 30 gigawatts of floating offshore that we could tap into in our Atlantic waters. The Maritime Area Planning Act provides the legal underpinning of this new planning and development system, balancing the offshore potential while protecting our environment. On the 25th of April next, the application window for maritime area consent applications under the new marine planning regime will open for a set of pre-qualified projects. The first MACs are to be expected to be granted in the second half of this year. In tandem, my department is designing a pathway based on consultation feedback for a second batch of projects to progress through the consenting system upon the establishment of MARA at the MARA Authority early next year. Work on a revised offshore renewable energy development plan is currently in progress and set out the pathway for the development of offshore renewable energy beyond 2030. As I said, we are establishing a cross-department task force to drive delivery, and that will include identifying the supporting infrastructure we will need and the supply chain opportunities for Ireland's offshore wind industry. Can I just say, one of the case for ambition here is that we're not the only ones in this business now. And we are actually playing catch-up from some other countries. UK, I think they have about 14 gigawatts of offshore already deployed. They just announced yesterday, I think, they're accelerating their ambition from 40 gigawatts by 2030 to 50. Our German colleagues, again, are out in the North Sea already because of their need to switch away from Russian gas. They're now planning, I recall, going from 30 gigawatts by 2030 to 70 gigawatts. The Belgians, again, similarly revising their plans, going from 2 gigawatts up to 8 gigawatts by 2030. So just to make the point, we are in a regional market, Northwest European regional electricity market, where the shipping, the cable, the turbines are all going to have to go to these various different countries. So we have to be quick and we have to be ambitious to be part of that shift and change.
I thank the Minister for his reply, and it is encouraging to hear of the volumes we're now generating, but also within the context of what other countries all around us, our European neighbours, are doing. Ireland is well positioned in Europe to be a leading light, and of course we should have been moving on this years ago and ramping up over the last decade. Our offshore wind resources are far enough to comfortably power our electricity needs. The Minister will be aware of several industry insiders who have argued that we should be even further increasing our ambition. Given the number of projects in various stages of planning at this point in time, that total a capacity of around 29 gigawatts or 30 gigawatts, as you say, it seems like 5 gigawatts target by 2030 could be increased perhaps, and this should represent a minimum of what we would do if we were serious about tackling the climate crisis and securing Ireland's energy future and protecting against the geopolitical threats that we're living through at the moment and that are on the European continent. Within the last few months, it has been shown that we need to look at it through that prism, and I'm also particularly considering the recent. Sorry, Chair. Yeah.
Minister first, and then I come.
I think we need to be more ambitious and could be more ambitious, but the real thing is then to deliver it. One of the ways we do it, I think, is through regional cooperation. I mentioned that all these other European countries are now in this massive expansion of offshore wind planned. And not just in Europe, it's happening in America, it's happening in Asia, everywhere, because it's the cheapest, best power supply source we have. We happen to have the presidency this year of the North Seas Energy Cooperation Group. It's a group of 9 countries which have signed a memorandum of understanding that we want to work collectively to tap into this offshore resource. I hope that we will be able to get the UK included in the group. It was originally pre-Brexit. I think it's important that the UK is also part of our regional plans. Part of the planning there should be common, our organised procurement systems for the shipping, for the cabling, for the turbines, for the electrolysers to transfer it into hydrogen when it gets ashore. And I'm working with my German, French and other European colleagues in that North Seas Cooperation Group to see how we can manage that to help the acceleration.
Thank you, Minister. I'd like to touch on the issue of LNG as a source of energy. It's not particularly cost effective and would be economically short-sighted, and of course that doesn't even consider the impacts on communities of unconventional gas extraction such as fracking, or indeed what we very rarely talk about in this country, the impact on the communities where LNG terminals are located in terms of how dangerous an industry it is and how polluting it is in its local area. Multiple studies, including those by Gas Networks Ireland and EirGrid, have found existing gas infrastructure to be capable of meeting future demand, even in the event of extreme supply disruption. LNG terminals would also be a significant, costly investment in a fuel we are planning on rapidly phasing out. But does the new European agreement with the US create a difficulty for the Irish government and its position currently? And can you make a statement on your current position on LNG infrastructure?
Just before the
that EU-US agreement doesn't impinge on us, doesn't force us in any direction. We have to make our own strategic decisions based on our own energy modelling and assessment. We always work in European cooperation, but on gas we are separated in effect because of our being on the far side of the UK from the European grid gas connection system.